Well, hi again, everyone. It's Rob Ryder, and it is Friday, the 6th of December, 2024. And today we'll be talking to Steve Bannon a bit. Steve had recently pointed out that, talking about the deficit and the fact that there's $36 trillion in national debt, and all the bad news there is. And Steve was originally, or at some point in his life, a investment banker, I think for Goldman Sachs, so you ought to understand the things we're talking about. So I say, Steve Bannon, to settle the debt, how about we enforce truth in lending and confiscate CAFR funds, now known as ACFR, but used to be back in the day the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, which is a report put out by any entity that takes public money, and they have to tell you what they did with it. You would think that they take that public money and they go spend it on a project of some kind. But in reality, what they do is they take that money and they put it into a fund and then they invest it. And from the investment, then they just make minimal payments on the interest of whatever it is they borrowed to do the deal. They have no interest in paying things off. What they want to do is put money in a fund, and then the people that administer the fund get management fees and so forth. It's a big, big business, Steve. You probably know some people involved in it. Just saying. So the way to get around that is say, well, let's say the county, for example, they could just as easily be on a cash basis accounting where they can only have 2.5 months worth of the money they need to run in the bank at any one time, and all the rest of that money wouldn't be there anymore. It's not their money anyways. So that's one of the things, but it's much easier to show when we look at the paperwork. So let's do that. Let's go look at some stuff. Let's look at some truth in lending stuff and look at a CAFR and look at some things to do with taxes and trying to pay taxes and so forth, and see where we end up in about, half an hour or so. So until then, I am Lusky Robert Allen, DODID number 12112800006, also known as Rob Ryder. Find my videos on YouTube under Rob Ryder with 3 B's, ROBBBRYDER, or more recently at Rumble, at Rob Ryder with 2 B's. And my email address is courtofrecord@AOL.com. And to be advised, this is an interesting thing, right? That this peso sign, which is really what this is, in a box, is not the same as a line where they want you to write out dollars. Right? This is more like a credit system, and this is dollars is a weight of gold or silver, and you would write it out. So why would you pay dollars when somebody wants whatever goes in the box? That's what the bill asks for. I'll show you an example in just a second. So yeah, give me a minute to get organized here, and we'll get started. So here's a quote that I'm talking about. I think you said this yesterday. Today's the 6th, so it would have been on the 5th. The deficit in the United States is now above 60% GDP, Bannon claimed. It's unsustainable. Right now, we're running deficits of 1.5 to 2 trillion a year. We've been warning for years that this is not sustainable. Now, in late 2024, early 2025, is coming home to roost. What's a deficit? Since you decided to use that word, well, it's a deficiency. Deficient in the taxes or revenue. Okay, so now, then what's revenue? Isn't that like an excise tax, like on tobacco or gas or things like that? That's revenue. And then taxes would be like your income taxes and so forth. Well, did you know that when people try to pay their taxes, Steve, that the place they're sent that is asking them to say, well, make your check payable to X, Y, or Z, X, Y, or Z cannot give you an EIN number as they're required to. If you're going to give somebody more than $600 a year, you need to get their EIN number so that you can send them a 1099 to satisfy the IRS requirement that you, the one that's sending the check, collect the tax. They call it withholding tax. So if they're not exempt, you're supposed to collect the withholding tax if they don't give you their EIN number. So it's much easier to show you on the paperwork, but yeah, that's what's happening. Taxes are being paid, but they're not being paid to the government because the people that are getting the checks to them don't have an EIN number. They're not the government. The government has an EIN number. Probably has multiple EIN numbers. So that's part of the problem. And so let's see if there's anything we can do to help get rid of the deficit. And just to clarify, right, so this is an example of a check where they have a box with a peso sign in front of it. They want you to put a number in the box. And then they want you to write a number here with dollars. At least that's the way we're taught to do it. Now, since this is a peso sign, let's look at that real quick. The dollar sign is also known as a peso sign. It's a currency symbol consisting of a capital S crossed with one or two vertical strokes. So one stroke, or dollar sign with two vertical lines. So apparently one vertical line isn't a dollar. That's a peso. A dollar sign with two vertical lines. But we don't have two vertical lines. We have one vertical line. Used to indicate the unit of various currencies around the world, including most currencies denominated dollar or peso. In some places, and at some times, the one or two stroke variants have been used in the same context to distinguish between the U.S. dollar and other local currency, such as a Portuguese escudo or the Ecuadorian dollar, which is like a 1 to 28 exchange ratio with the U.S. dollar. So I want to pay in Ecuadorian dollars because that's what they're asking for. When you get a bill, it just has a line like this and some numbers behind it. Let me show you one. For instance, here's a gas bill or electric bill, right? Amount due. Peso sign 123.26. There's no numbers written down. Don't say $123.26. It doesn't say that. It's just numbers 12326. All right, so why aren't we putting 12326 in the box and sending the check? I don't understand. Here's another one. Here's a delinquent tax notice. You better pay them taxes, right? Make check or money order payable and mail to Kalkaska County Treasurer. And the Kalkaska County Treasurer wants you to send them a check for $129 or $1,298. And then it asks for the amount enclosed. Well, look at that. It just has a peso sign and a line. So write some numbers in there. But they won't take that. Now, the thing is, the Kalkaska County Treasurer, that's who they want you to make the check to. Well, the Kalkaska County Treasurer doesn't have an EIN number. So if you write the Kalkaska County Treasurer this check and you don't collect or withhold the withholding tax, which is like 24%, and inform the IRS and do all the shenanigans that need to be done, well, then you're the tax evader. And they know who you are because they got your check. Right? They got your social security number, they got your routing number, they got your account number, but they ain't no jack about the Kent County Treasurer, except that's who you sent your money to. You're aiding and abetting an enemy of the United States by doing that. There goes the tax money, right? The tax money did not go to the United States or to whatever the taxing authority is. And went to somebody who's impersonating a taxing authority. And you've probably seen one of these before, Steve. Here's a W-9, right? You put name of entity or the individual. So that has to go there. But if it's a business name, using a fictitious name, well, then you put the other name here. But at the end of the day, they got to fill in some boxes, and they have to tell you if they're exempt. And if you want to know what the exemption codes are, you go to page 3. Let's go look at page 3. What's it say? Exemption codes, right? The following identify payees. Exempt from backup withholding. The United States or any agency or state. So you'd put 2 if it was the United States, you wanted the check for the taxes, or you'd put 3 if it was the state or the county or somebody else that wanted the taxes. But they didn't put either of those in the box. Let's take a look at one. So here's the county of Kane, which also known as Kane County in Illinois. They did it right. Right? They put it in 3 and C. So the County of Kane is probably the right name. However, when you deal with them, they call themselves Kane County. Right? So Kane County treasurer would be the one asking for the check, yet the W-9 they would send you is for the County of Kane. They're two different entities. No place on here does it say Kane County Treasurer. I know I showed you a Kalkaska County Treasurer bill before, but it's the same, Steve. You can go look at yours. Go look at your property tax bill. You see who it says to pay. You're going to say blank County Treasurer. Where, in fact, apparently the place that has the EIN number, because there's the EIN number and they signed it, they did the whole thing. So, okay, they're saying that this is the entity with the EIN number and it's County of Kane. But County of Kane didn't ask for a check. The Kane County Treasurer would have asked for the check. But here's one from a charter, or from supposed to be a township, right? Charter Township, West Bloomfield. Well, that then is like a city. But they're not claiming to have anything to do with the government. Didn't check any boxes. You know, who the hell are they? It's just a private entity that wants money from you. So yeah, whoever wants to be paid has to fill out a W-9, have to say, especially if it's the government, which of these, if you're going to claim to be exempt from the withholding tax, which of these make you exempt? And then there's the thing with the FACTA, or B is for the United States and C is for a state. So if it's a taxing authority that wants to be paid, they had better be filling out the boxes in box 4. But I'm not going to do it. Okay, so beyond the W-9, well, what else is wrong? Well, let's look at this here. This is the Consumer Credit Cost Disclosure, which cited as the Truth in Lending Act. Okay, and you can't read the whole act, obviously, but when you get down here, you'll find out that there's certain things that have to be on a form, like determining the finance charge, determining the annual percentage rate. And they have administrative enforcement and so forth and so on. You think this is pretty straightforward stuff. But let's see where the errors are. So, anyways, that act, because there's that act, then there's a requirement that a form be made and has certain information on it. And, well, this is an example of what used to be used. I believe now it's been changed, but a lot of people have this, and this one is for a mortgage, so it's used for house loans from the United States Department of Agriculture. And that's supposed to be the government. Why don't they got an EIN number? Where it says in here that they're the lender, the USDA, Rural Development, is going to be the lender. You got the annual percentage rate, the amount financed, total payments, finance charge, so forth. So let's just go through these real quick. Annual percentage rate, the cost of your credit as a yearly rate. Okay, good enough. Amount financed, the amount of credit provided to you on your behalf. Well, how come it has a dollar sign in front of it? Or is it a dollar sign? Is it just an S? Apparently, I believe it's an S like a dollar sign, but it's credit. It's not dollars, right? The dollar amount that the credit will cost you. That's a finance charge. Well, these are dollars. It just said the dollar amount right here. This is the credit. They're not the same thing. They're different species. And then the total payments, it looks like, well, they took for C, they took B and D and added them together and said, well, and now this is your total payments. Okay. Then it says the total sale price. Total cost of your purchase on credit, including your down payment of 0, is nothing. There is no payment. There's no cost. If this is the amount to be financed, or the amount of credit provided to you, so you must have been buying the house in credits, because that's what this was for, was House cost $133,000, or that's what you're told, and so now they're saying, well, those are credits, okay, and now you're going to have finance charge, the dollar amount the credits should cost you, okay. Well, then these shouldn't have been added together. If that was the case, and we just did it simply, the total of payments should be $215,493. You wouldn't add them together; they're not the same thing. And this is like a foreign exchange. Let's say I'm going to spend this much dollars to get this many euros. But now you don't add them together and say, well, now you owe me this. No, I gave you this many dollars, 215,000 to get 133,000 euros. We're done. The deal's over. So, right, the total payments should have been 215 is one of the possibilities, but it wasn't 348,000. But as it turns out, that isn't right either. Let's go a little further. You have a right at this time to receive an itemization of the amount financed. What's the amount financed? 133. Yes, I want an itemization. Okay. Let's go look at it. Here's the itemization. 133. Amount given you directly, 0. Amount paid to your account, 0. To public officials, 0. Name of our creditor, 0. To other, 0. Prepaid finance charges, $110. They never gave anybody 133 of anything. It's not there. I mean, this is just blatantly bullshit. But now let's go read what the law says, what they should have done. So I got to find that here real quick. Hang on just a second. Okay, so what is the finance charge, right? Well, it's these things: interest, time, price differential, any amount payable under point, discount system, additional charges, service carrying charge, loan fee, finder's fee, similar charge, fee for investigation, the credit report, premium, other charges. But there's nothing in there about being the loan amount, just the interest. Right, so how is it that you ended up with this humongous number of, what did we say it was, 215,000? $215,493. So somehow 215K worth of whatever charges had to come out of subsection 106. I'll let somebody else figure out how they did it. Determination of the annual percentage rate. Well, this is interesting. The annual percentage rate applicable to any extension on consumer credit shall be determined in accordance with regulations of the board. In the case of an extension of a credit other than under an open-end credit plan, which would be like a credit card, I believe, the nominal annual percentage rate, which will yield a sum equal to the amount of the finance charge when it is applied to the unpaid balance of the amount financed. What did that say? Well, it said the nominal annual percentage rate, which will yield a sum equal to the amount of the finance charge, 215K, when it is applied to the unpaid balance of the amount financed. So in other words, some number plus 133,000, some number that you derive using this 6.25%, plus 133,000, because it's a sum, is supposed to equal $215,000. Well, how'd they ever get that? So let's look at this then, determine annual percentage rate. So the nominal annual percentage rate, which will yield a sum equal to the amount of the finance charge when it is applied to the unpaid balances of the amount financed. So that means that the finance charge equals the amount financed plus X, whatever that number is that they're talking about. Okay, well, if we know that it was 215, we got 133, then that number is $82,493.44. Now, the interesting thing is, when you take 6.25% and just multiply it by 133,000, you come up with 8,312, which isn't quite the same, but they talk about in the law there is a fudge factor. It's by a factor of 10 different. This is 8,000. Obviously, this is 82,000. But if this was 8312, it's almost the same as 82,493 at 6.25. So I say they made a mistake, and they should have taken 6.25 times 133, which is that right there, and added that to 133. Right, about 133 plus 8312 equals about 141,312. That should be the finance charge, not 215. If we're just doing what it says, right, the nominal annual percentage rate, which will yield a sum equal to the amount of the finance charge when it is applied to the unpaid balances of the amount financed. So some number added to the amount financed is supposed to give you this percentage rate. Well, if we look at the original numbers the way they are, if it was 133 to start with and you added 82 something, and this 82,493 is derived from using a percentage, then that's over 50% interest. So you can get the number to add to the 133 to get to the 215. Something fishy going on here. So I'd be tickled pink if somebody puts in the comments how you would do this math to satisfy the definition that's given in the Act, which again is the nominal annual percentage rate, which will yield a sum. Sum is an addition, two numbers or more, but it's addition, not multiplication or division. It's a sum equal to the amount of the finance charge, and we've got that number. It's $215,000 about, when it's applied to the unpaid balances of the amount financed. And the amount financed was $133,000. Somebody do the math and tell me how you end up with how the government, who is this? Rural Development was able to say, well, it's a 6.25 percentage rate, finance $133,000, and your finance charge is going to be $215,493 for a total payment of $348. When it should have been, closer to 140-some thousand at the most, $141,000. But this shows there was no cost. This is showing there was no cost. This is showing that there was no money given except for this $110 in finance charges. And yet the person this is going to has been making payments of $764 since 2006. Help me out, Steve. I mean, you're an investment banker. Vance is an investment banker. Isn't the guy running for DOD, wasn't he an investment banker too? Weren't you all playing with the money? And just real quick, now here's one on a car, right? This is a little bit different. You got annual percentage rate, and you got the finance charge. See those boxes a little bit more highlighted? That's because those are the two parts that come out of the law that need to be on the form. The rest of the stuff, I don't know, it has to be on the form, but they put it on. So they're showing a 9-ish% annual percentage rate, and it says finance charge, that the dollar amount the credit will cost you is $7,700 and change. Right? Well, what did you get for that $7,700 and change? The amount of credit provided to you on your behalf is $25,343 or $334. So you're going to take your foreign exchange and say, well, here's my $7,700, and you're going to give me 25,000 and change euros. Well, you can see they did the same thing, though. They took those two numbers and added them together and said, well, now your total payments are going to be $33,000. And the total sale price of your purchase on credit, including your down payment of $2,000, will be $35,000. $7,000. When in reality, if we're talking dollars, it was only ever $7,700. And see, this says cash price. Now, this is a lie because up here, it just said that we're talking about the amount financed, right, which is the amount of credit. Well, cash is money. In fact, let me where is that at? I had that on here somewhere just to show that. One of these papers. Cash, money on hand. Cash, money, primarily ready money, money in chest or in hand, bank or at command. It is properly silver or gold. That's what dollars with an S is. But since the institution of banks, it denotes that bank notes equivalent to money. So when you pay in dollars with an S, you write it out, well, that's paying in cash. But when you put it in a box, if you put a number in a box or on a line behind a peso sign, well, to me, you're just paying with credit. You're not paying with money, cash. My point is that this is saying this is the dollar amount here, 24 and change. You add them all up and you get down here amount finance. But no, it couldn't have been because the amount of dollars you paid for all the credit you needed was only $7,700 for 25,334, which is this number down here, which was using this number up here. So this cannot be a cash price. So I don't know what to tell you, except it's wrong. Someone's going to have to explain, well, how did you get these numbers? If the dollar amount, the credit is going to cost me $7,737, and for that, you're going to give me 25,334 credits, and I'm going to take those credits and buy this vehicle. Well, then you don't add those together. My total payment should have been $77.37, and paid it off in no time instead of paying $35,000. I'd say that there's something wrong there. It's like you might be overpaying for things, Steve. So yeah, somebody wants to put something in the comments and explain those things to me, please do. I'm sure we'd all like to know. Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the CAFR. Now the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. Apparently CAFR sounded too much like some Middle Eastern word and derogatory statements, so they had to change it. I don't know. What I know is that this says that this is for the County of Kent. And I have an EIN number for the County of Kent. So it's okay, well, that's good. This goes with the CAFR. Good. Let's go look. Let's take a quick look at some stuff. Yep, County of Kent, Michigan. Check. County of Kent, Michigan. Check. Check. Still County of Kent. County of Kent, Michigan. Okay. And it stays that way for a little bit. And then finally you get down here to, well, now here's the County of Kent elected officers. Well, if that's the case, why does the sheriff drive around with a car that says Kent County on it if she's from the County of Kent? Right? The County of Kent has an EIN number. It's part of the government. Kent County doesn't have an EIN number. It's not part of the government. Continuing on. Now we're going to get to Office of Administrator. Oh, we're going to get into administration now. Well, here comes the administrative state because here's the Kent County Administration building. To the Board of Commissioners and Citizens of Kent County. But they're talking about County of Kent. County of Kent's got the EIN number. Who the hell's Kent County? Right, it's not part of the United States. That's obvious. Maybe it's part of Israel. I don't know. But I know that that's where we're sending our checks to, and they don't have an EIN number. Oh, and then there are a number of little things. We'll just look at it real quick. It says amounts and down. What is that about? 25. Let's go to page 25. It says all amounts, unless otherwise indicated, are expressed in thousands of dollars. Okay. So are they talking about throughout this document or just right here? Okay, so all these would have 3 zeros at the end. So the net position of the county of Kent is almost $450 million. Right? That's if you paid off, because net is everything, right? So, or after all bills are paid, what's left? Well, that's your net. So why does Kent or the county of Kent have $500 million of money sitting in an account? That don't make no sense. That's just one little thing. Let's look for some more. And I won't even begin to claim I know how any of these numbers work or where they came from. All I know is this says that this is the statement of net positions. And so all these are more than what was necessary. That's why they still have some left. I guess if it was in parentheses, we could say, well, that's a deficit. But total assets, right, component units, almost $1 billion in more than the than the amount owed. I think that we could use some of that to pay off the country's debt. And some notes to the financial statements. As the end of the year, $350 million is in the bank. Why do they have $350 million in a bank account? And this was kind of interesting, cash and investment pool. The county maintains a cash and investment pool called the SunGuard system that is available for use by all funds, component units, and voluntary basis, other local units of government, except employees' retirement or VEBA plans. The SunGuard system is not subject to regulatory oversight, is not registered with the SEC, and does not issue separate reports. The net asset value of the pool does not fluctuate, and the fair value of the position of the pool is the same as the value of the pool shares. The SunGuard system has not provided or obtained any legal binding guarantees during the period to support the value of the shares. The investments are valued monthly. The investment pool allows county investment policy. The following condensed financial statement of the safeguard system include activities of all funds. Well, whatever it is, it's got $416 million in it. I don't know if we got to put 3 zeros behind that because, earlier it said, unless otherwise indicated, everything's in thousands, but that would be 416 billion, and that sounds awful high for one county in Michigan. But nevertheless, 416 million is not just a drop in a bucket. So again, I mean, this is, I don't know how they get around this. It says County of Kent, Michigan, these are elected officers. Yet there's nobody that calls themselves the County of Kent. They all call themselves Kent County. All right, Kent County Clerk, Kent County Prosecuting Attorney, Kent County Drain Commissioner, Kent County Sheriff, Kent County Treasurer. Kenneth Parrish would want you to pay your property tax to the Kent County Treasurer. And yet he's claiming to be the treasurer for the elected officer of the County of Kent. Well, this is a financial report for the County of Kent, not Kent County. So who are the citizens of Kent County? How do you get to be a citizen of Kent County? Anybody know? I don't believe it's possible. Profile of the government, right? The County of Kent encompasses an area approximately 864 square miles located in the central west portion of Michigan Lower Peninsula. The County of Kent is the fourth most populous county in the state of Michigan, with lowercase s, state of Michigan, and then state in parentheses. With a 2019 estimated population of 658,000, it's approximately 64 miles west of Lansing, the state capital, lowercase state of Michigan. The county is empowered by the state to levy property tax on real and personal property located within the county. Who gets to levy the tax? The county of Kent, not Kent County. It's fucked up, Steve. That's all I can tell you. It's a fucked up system. So I'm asking you, brother, as a former investment banker, can you look at these things and tell me what's going on? Can you please tell the American people? Because, I'm not an investment banker, but I am a veteran. I'd like to know. How about helping us out? Okay, well, that's what I had. I hope you found it interesting and enjoyable and informative. Just remember, a peso sign with a box is not the same as a line with dollars behind it. So you just ain't got no peso sign. You don't see no peso sign of that line. Something going on, Steve. Okay, y'all have a great day, and see what comes up next. We'll see you now.